Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's Q&A Tuesday. I'll jump right into this one. First question from BUK. Hey Roman, great video as always. By the way, I love your watch shopping vlogs. Can't wait for the next one. I'm gonna take the camera into IWJG that's coming up in New York. I'm going on a bit of a buying trip more than a selling trip, so I'm gonna see if I can tape some of that action. But I'm gonna try to do my best to get one of those going as well. What do you think of the new LE Speedmaster, future classic? Absolutely. You know how I feel about all Speedmasters, old, new, coming up. I'm a big fan of Omega Speedmasters. I'm a big fan of Omega. I'm a big fan of everything that a Speedmaster stands for. So yes, I do feel that that's going to be a future classic, but that's a very loose term because for it to become a classic, how much time has to pass, you know what I mean? For it to become that true vintage collectible, it takes time. But I do feel like it will be a future classic, absolutely. Do you think if Lange someday jumped onto the stainless steel sports watch bandwagon, it would help the brand, as they're currently not really the hottest in the game, while still have plenty of devoted collectors? Though I'd say similar to Journe, while delivering arguably the best watches, or would it just lose its respect for older ALS collectors have for the brand? Lange & Sons still sell well. They don't discount a whole lot, especially if we use the Zeitwerk as an example. They don't sell at a great discount. Oftentimes they're hard to find. They are comparable to FP Journe in terms of watchmaking. I've always said Lange & Sons, I think, has some of the most superb watchmaking out there alongside with FP Journe. And FP Journe did come out with a stainless steel watch, and it did wonders for them. But I wouldn't say it did wonders for them as a brand, or it elevated them somewhere. It's just something new that FP Journe added to their mix. And I'm referring to the centigraph on the bracelet. I'll throw it up there. I actually had the opposite effect of what you're saying. FP Journe collectors, or FP Journe clients, I should say, responded really, really well to that particular watch. And I think if Lange did the same exact thing, I don't think they would be jumping on a bandwagon of stainless steel watches. I think they would just be expanding their line. And if I was a Lange collector, in fact, if a Lange came out with something similar to what FP Journe did, I would be very happy about it as a Lange lover myself. And I would think that the general crowd, or general ALS crowd, as you call them, would react extremely, extremely well. It would not cheapen the brand, because I guarantee you if they do something, it's not going to be cheap. And I don't think any respect would be lost. Now, there's going to be Lange guys out there that are going to say, what is this stainless steel Lange? That's not for me. But I think most will say the opposite and actually going to want that watch. And if I had to guess, and Lange & Sons did come out with a stainless steel sports watch in the style that Lange could produce it and with the quality that Lange produces, there'd be a line out the door to try to get one. That's just my 2 cents on that. Next question from Jimmy Split. I can see you enjoying rocking that beautiful A serial. Here, oh, no, I'm not wearing that today. Never mind. I am myself still hunting for a vintage Royal Oak, preferably from 1977 birth year. I currently have a birth year Daytona, reference 62, 65. So Roman, what's your ultimate birth year watch? Don't really have one, to be honest with you. I think I showed a watch, which was the Apollo Soyuz watch from Omega. And that mission took place July 17th, 1975, and I was born in 75. So that would be kind of gimmicky as far as my birthday is concerned. But I don't, per se, ever find myself going after watches based on my birth year, because that doesn't necessarily line up with maybe a collectability of a watch, or it's just not something that's personally appealing to me. What it is personally appealing to me is wine. I told you guys in the past, I'm a big wine guy. I have over 1,500 bottles in my wine cellar, and I do have some bottles from 1975 and 1978, which are mine and my wife's birth years. Unfortunately, if you guys are into wine, you know there was practically no region in the world, and I don't care if you talk in France or Napa Valley or Spain or Argentina for that matter, 1975 was just a vintage for wine, and so was 1978, by the way. So those bottles kind of become, again, kind of gimmicky because it's my birth year. If I was born in 1982, then definitely there could be quite a few bottles of wine I could get from France that would set me back an arm and a leg, but nevertheless would be great vintages to drink. But for the most part, I don't really get out there and look for things that are my birth year. It doesn't really signify much to me. But not to say that there's anything wrong with what you're doing. I think it's really cool that you're out there hunting for stuff based on your birth year, which means you're going out there and buying what you want and what you like. So absolutely bravo on that as well. Next question comes from Cat 40,000? 4,000? 40,000. Yes. Hey Roman, awesome video. Thank you. What are your favorite strap materials, and what exotic straps do you think we should check out other than the typical cow leather, calfskin, or crocodile? Well, my favorite straps are not exotic at all. I happen to like rubber strap because they're extremely versatile. They're cheap to replace. You can go swimming with any watch out there, because oftentimes you get a watch that's water resistant that you can go swimming in, but you can't go swimming in because you're wearing a $500 leather strap, like an offshore, for example, right? Where the offshore rubber clad, you can because it has a rubber strap. So oftentimes when I'm out on vacation, you'll find me actually taking watches that don't normally come on a rubber strap, putting a rubber strap on them just so I can go swimming in them. It makes it a lot more practical. They're a lot more durable. They don't stain, much like the inside. If you see an older watch with an inside of a leather strap, it always turns dark, mostly from moisture or the sweat of your wrist, right? Especially when it's hot out there. I will take a rubber strap over any other exotic strap that's out there. Another strap worth mentioning would be the Richard Mille strap, the Velcro strap specifically. And a lot of guys make fun of it, say, oh, here's a $500,000 watch with a $2 Velcro strap on it. Again, I like the Velcro strap because they're much cheaper. They're a lot more versatile. In terms of adjusting to your wrist perfectly, a Velcro strap always works because you can adjust it pretty much to any width, and you're not limited to the holes in the strap, rubber or leather. For ladies' pieces, I like some of the satin straps that manufacturers make. Like Harry Winston makes beautiful satin strap for some of the ladies' pieces. Breguet, Queen of Naples, makes a beautiful satin strap. I actually like the way that looks. It just makes the watch feel a lot more luxurious, and on watches such as the ones I just showed you, it adds to the overall luxurious effect.
This is beautiful. What is that, velvet?
As far as, exotic, I don't know if you can call this exotic. There's a lot of aftermarket stuff out there that people make. I tend to get out there and find small guys that make the stuff by hand. I know guys that will take apart old horse saddles and they'll make these thick panerized straps that already look vintage, already look worn because it's from a worn saddle, or any other old leather, musty, thick stitching type of straps that you can put on sportier watches, such as Panerai, such as Rolex. And I even seen guys put those things on a more dressier watch, like some Jaegers and IWCs that were more of a dressy watch. They used to, let's say, have a crocodile strap to sort of give it a more rugged look. A lot of IWC pilot guys out there will go out and find these custom-made straps for themselves. So I do definitely like those. Anything that's vintage looking, I like those. You also see guys making NATO straps out of old leather as well, which I think is a pretty cool look as well. So hope that answers your question. Next question comes from David23. Hi Roman, great insight as always. Thank you. What do you think of the GP Lariata skeleton steel? Would you choose this at resale price over AP Royal Oak Chrono? I know how you are with APs, but the older movement and solid caseback really bother me knowing there's probably an upgrade coming. Okay, well, GP Lariata, not as hot. AP Royal Oak, very hot. But looks-wise, if you put the two side by side, the skeleton definitely blows Audemars Piguet out of the water, no matter how biased I am. I can admit when something is just a great-looking timepiece. And the GP Lariata steel skeleton and the rose gold especially, they're absolutely drop-dead gorgeous watches, and they sell well. They do sell well. People like them because, a lot of people, contrary to all belief, I keep preaching this, buy what they like first and foremost. So for you, to compare it to is kind of not fair. They're sort of in a different realm in terms of popularity. But at the same time, to answer your questions, I absolutely love the GP skeleton steel. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous watch, and I don't care if it's a GP. And I'm not going to compare it to the AP Royal Oak Chrono because, again, kind of not fair to compare it to one of the hottest watches in the market today, comparable that to a stainless steel Daytona. As far as what you said, the older movement and solid caseback really bothered me, knowing there's probably an upgrade coming. There's always an upgrade coming. Watch companies always evolve. They always change models around. They always change them up slightly or sometimes even drastically. Sometimes they discontinue stuff to come out with completely brand new models. This happens every year. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I guess what you have to do is not bother yourself with that. Kind of look at it as the new iPhone, right? How often do we get a new iPhone out there? I'm one of those guys that wants to have the latest and the greatest iPhone. So anytime a brand new iPhone comes out, I go out and buy it. And I don't think about the fact that 6 months later, there'll probably be another iPhone. You know what I mean? I also lease my cars instead of buying my cars. First of all, financially, I figured out it makes a lot more sense. And I also get to change my car every 3 years on the average. This is usually the average time of a lease, right? So to me, I tend to approach it that way, but I'm not really concerned with that kind of stuff when it comes to watches because it just becomes too much. If you're going to go out there and buy a brand new model every time something new comes out, it's just going to cost you an arm or a leg. Now, if money is not an object, then no worries. But again, I wouldn't really concern myself with that when it comes to watches. Hope that makes sense. Well, next question comes from one of my female viewers, Ada Blaine. And contrary to all belief, this is not an old boys club. I have quite a few lady followers apparently, and they do sometimes ask questions as well. And I encourage you, if you're a female follower, I need more from you girls. So ask away, please. As a lady, I have to say that Corum Bubble Mini really is so damn cute. It's very quaint and elegant. Also, funny question for Q&A. I need to know, I've always felt that the watch bracelets for men would be uncomfortable due to armrest hairs can easily get stuck in them. If this is agitating for women with a minimal hair, how the hell do guys deal with this? Are luxury watches somehow better designed to address this? But how? Do guys secretly also follow this beauty is pain mentality? Does one craftfully shave prior? I find it funny how these type of watches are some of the most thought after in the community. High class, no diggity, no doubt, but I've just never understood. Is this a ridiculous question? That's okay, because I need to know now, LOL. It's not a ridiculous question. In fact, it really all depends on the design of the watch. Now, I'm wearing a Rolex right now, and I don't really have a lot of wrist hair. I'm not a hairy guy altogether, but there are guys out there that are quite hairy, and it is what it is, and 99 out of 100 guys, I'm pretty sure, don't shave their wrists. Some do, some don't. Whatever, I don't knock it, whatever you do. But for some reason, the manufacturers are able to create their bracelets in such a way where the hairs do not get pinched on their wrist, and mainly due to the fact that there's a much thicker space between the links on majority of the bracelets out there. Now, there are some bracelets out there that will do that, especially like the diamond encrusted watches that sort of built like a tennis bracelet, because tennis bracelets do cinch hair, and women always complain about that. In fact, I bought a couple of bracelets for my wife, said I can't do it because it pinches the little hairs I have on my hands, because everybody has hair on their hands, right? So I don't know how they go about it, but I'm sure there was a lot of R&D done in order to figure out the way that these bracelets will fit and not pinch people's hair on their wrist, because everybody has some amount of hairs on their wrist, unless you wax or whatever it is you do to remove all that stuff, but I highly doubt anybody does that. And you also have to remember that even for a hairy individual, the least amount of hair one will have is literally around their wrist area. This is kind of where it's kind of like, there's a reason why we don't have hair on our palms, right? This is a very used part of your body, so therefore, you know, there's not a whole lot of hair growing there, even some of the most hairy guys. So no, not a ridiculous question. No, don't really have an answer for you, but it has something to do with the design of the bracelets, where whoever was doing them obviously figured out a way to do it where the hairs do not get pinched. Quick question from Habib Daytona, and again, I apologize if I mangled your name. Hi Roman, great video as always. What are your thoughts on the Jaeger LeCoultre Ultra Thin Perpetual in relation to any of the Patek annual calendar watches? Again, comparing apples to oranges. It's very tough to compare a perpetual calendar with an annual calendar, because a perpetual calendar is a perpetual calendar, where an annual calendar you have to reset. It doesn't show you what the year is or what the leap year, etc. So obviously the perpetual calendar is going to be a lot more complicated. But in general, let's compare Jaeger LeCoultre perpetual calendars to that of Patek Philippe perpetual calendars, and my answer is going to be very, very simple. A lot more bang for your buck with the Jaeger LeCoultre perpetual versus that of a Patek Philippe perpetual. Hope that makes sense. One more and I'll get out of here, from Rob S. I believe I've answered Rob's questions in the past. Hi Roman, love your videos. I'm really interested in the Joker line of watches from Konstantin Chaikin. Is it difficult or even possible for an American to get a watch serviced by a Russian watchmaker? If not, where would one get this watch serviced? It is not. It is not any more difficult than having a watch serviced by a Swiss manufacturer or a German manufacturer for that matter. Konstantin Chaikin has the logistics set up to service his timepieces, so don't worry yourself with the fact that he's a Russian watchmaker.
I must break you.
What I will tell you is good luck getting one of his watches. They're trading over a list, and there's a line out the door for Konstantin to deliver his watches, because he doesn't make very many of them. But in general, I will tell you that there is some truth to your question, because a lot of the independent watchmakers, their service and logistics and quote-unquote service department is not set up as great as, let's say, that of Audemars Piguet or some of the other major manufacturers that may have multiple service centers around the world, at least one on every major continent, where somebody like Konstantin Chaikin will most likely be the one fixing your watch himself, so that means it would take a lot longer. If you're talking about regular service, there's no need to send it to Konstantin. You can take any major repair center within the United States that services major brands, and 5 to 6 years when you want to change the oil on your watch and service it, you can send it to any one of those centers, and they'll do just as good a job. Hope that answers your question. Well, guys, that's it for me for today. Last but not least, I always forget to do this, I know, especially for Q&A. Let me show you what's on my wrist to wear. And I'm sporting an old school yellow gold Daytona with a diamond down, and this is the upside down 6. You can see the 30 at 6 o'clock is upside down. Somewhat of a collectible. They made fewer of these upside down 6s, so it does trade slightly higher than some of the other pieces. But for me, it's just an older yellow gold Daytona that I love the way it looks. It's getting sunny outside, warm outside. This thing will shine with the diamond dial, and so I'll wear this for a few days. Well guys, that's it for me for today. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you like this video, as always, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, every subscriber counts, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.